I feel like this is gonna be the hardest video that I've ever done on my channel since starting it June of 2022. I feel like this conversation right here is gonna be a tough one for me. So y'all bear with me and let me go ahead and just throw out the disclaimer. This could be a trigger for people that's watching this video because addiction is a very serious topic, right? And there's all different types of addictions, but I just want to just throw that out there that this is going to be a hard video because I'm going to be very transparent with you guys today. So I hope you stay tuned for this video. Welcome or welcome back to Starr Knows Credit. My name is Starr Carter. On this channel, I talk about personal financial education and everything that's going to help us level up. Again, guys, this is going to be a tough video for me, so I'm not going to even, sugarcoat it. I hope you guys do enjoy this video. If this is your first time, being with me on this channel, I hope you do find something in this video that will make you want to subscribe to the channel. Also, you guys cutting on your notification bells, that way you are never missing out on when a video is dropped. And also make sure you guys like this video, leave me some comments, that way it gets pushed out to somebody else that may need to hear this information, because it may also change their lives, as well as what I'm about to talk about has changed my life. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So I know you guys saw the thumbnail where it says I was an addict, and I'm going to be talking about the addiction that many of us have, but a lot of us do not talk about it. We hide it. We appear to have everything together, right? And that addiction is debt. Debt addiction is an addiction that nobody talks about, and you don't even really hear about it, as much as we should. In the world, in the society that we're in, nobody really talks about debt addiction. And so in this video, that's what I'm going to talk about, my struggles with debt addiction. So this is going to be my first story time on the channel. So y'all go ahead and get comfortable, because I'm just going to go ahead and kind of give you my full backstory. So this video probably be a very long video, won't lie to you, because I got a lot to cover. But let's go ahead and let's get into it. So where did it all begin with me and my struggles with finance and my struggles with my credit? So if I were to really look back on it, I would say it started as a child, because I didn't grow up with a family that was dirt poor, but we made it. We made it happen. I was born in Baltimore. I live in South Carolina now. This is where my family is from. But my grandmother, went north. And so I was born in Baltimore, me, my brother, and some of my cousins. And so I went to school. I went to elementary school and a part of middle school in Baltimore before we moved here in 1990. And I just remember as a child, trigger warning, I just remember as a child, being picked on a lot about my clothes, shoes, not having the most popular toys, when it came down to show and tell and stuff like that. As a child, when I was little, and my grandma used to take me to this thrift store in Baltimore called the Value Village, and it was off York Road. And that was like one of my favorite stores as a child. I'm under 5 years old, so I don't, a store is a store to a kid, And so I'm getting, secondhand clothes that I didn't know was secondhand clothes at the time when I was getting them. And, secondhand toys and stuff like that. And like I said, I didn't know that at the time when I was getting those. And so they were new to me, right? And I loved them. And I remember having a pair of brown corduroy pants that was like my favorite pair of pants. I could wear those pants every day. And I remember wearing them to school for the first time, and I got picked on about those pants. And I loved those pants before I went to school. And I remember just certain clothes that I loved, but that I would wear to school once I got in kindergarten and stuff, that I would get picked on about, and my shoes and stuff like that. And that kind of was the whole cups of my growing up, like from elementary all the way up until I got my first job when I was 16 years old, was trying to not be picked on. So when my grandma would take me, you know, shopping and stuff like that, I'm looking for whatever it is that doesn't look cheap, you know, that I won't get picked on at school, right? And that started it with me. That really started it with me, because I was always at that point seeking outside acceptance, approval, validation, and because I wanted to be liked. And I felt like when I was getting picked on because of what I wore, or if my grandma did pack my lunch, you know, I got picked on because I had government like food, cheese, or whatever, you know, in my little lunch pail. And because I got free lunch, I got picked on because we had food stamps. And I don't know how, you know, old or young that's looking at this video, but I remember when food stamps was actually in a book and you had to tear them out. They had the brown ones that was $1, and the blue ones and the green ones, you know, $5 ones and the $10 ones and the $20 ones, you know. I remember actually having those food stamps, you know, and being ashamed to take them to the store, because my grandma, you know, back then you can get sent to the corner store or whatever. My mom used to send me to the store to get cigarettes, you know. It wasn't no like age thing back then. You know, you just go to the corner store and get whatever it is you had to get. But I used to be embarrassed because my grandma would be like, okay, if you go down to the store and get me this, and you'll give me $1. And I'm like, okay, and when I get the $1, it's $1 food stamp, right? And so the little kids out there, you know, Star's on the welfare. And you know what was so funny at the time, you know, hindsight is always 20/20. When I look back at it, a lot of them was on the same system, and we were all, you know, living the same life, but we were so ashamed that we were picking on each other, you know, and about our struggles. You know, our parents struggle with money and stuff like that. And so that kind of chased me, like I said, all the way up until I got my first job. And I didn't get my first job because I wanted to learn how to save money, or, you know, save money so I can go to college. I literally got my first job at Burger King just so I can shop. That was it. That was my only focus, was so I can be in high school and not get picked on in high school. Because at this point, I've gotten picked on in elementary school, middle school. Here, there was a junior high school. So I got picked on all the way up through like the 10th grade about my clothes, because my grandma's buying my clothes, right? With her limited income. And so I'm just getting a job just so I can go shopping, and so that I'm not picked on. So I'm going to, as soon as I get my Burger King check, we got paid every Friday, I'm going to get Tommy Hilfiger at Belts, or I'm going to JCPenney, you know, getting Hunt Club, Levi jeans, you know. I got to have Air Force Ones, what was it, Air Max. Air Max was really popular back then, and Patrick Ewing's. And now I never got Jordans. I've never owned a pair of Jordans. Jordan tennis shoes was never my thing, even till this day. But back then, you know, you just wanted to be as popular. K-Swiss, all those type of things. And I remember the days of cross colors, and cross colors was very expensive, you know, jean jackets and pants, you know, and that kind of stuff. So was always trying to fit in and not get picked on. That started my debt journey, because not only did I get my first job and was buying clothes and everything and stuff like that, and I never saved any money. All my money went to clothes and shoes and getting my hair done and getting my nails done at the time, and all that type of stuff. Like I said, just to look the part. I remember Mickey Mouse watches was the in thing back then, so I had to go get me a Mickey Mouse watch and all those type of things. It was just so much stuff that I was doing at the time just to fit in. Even after I graduated high school. Well, let me backtrack. Let me go back. Because some of my friends had got cars, I wanted to get a car too. So I wound up having a car payment before I was even 18 years old. And I told you guys in my life lessons video that I got my first Discover card when I was 18. I used to get cash advances off that card, you know, to shop and stuff like that. And I mean, I took debt to even get my car. Like I took a cash advance to put the down payment on my car, right? So I had a $200 car payment, 16 years old, and I was just doing too much, you know. I mean, way too much. I left Burger King and I started working at a place called Golden Corral. So I was like waiting tables, and I was like the salad girl. So I was getting waitress money on the weekends because I would make more money on tips, and during the week I would be a salad girl while going to school just so I can look the part. Our idols, you know, back when I was a teenager, our idols that we looked at were, you know, TLC, Tony Braxton, SWV, you know, all the singers and artists and rappers and stuff. So that's who I was trying to emulate. You know, I'm trying to look like the celebrities that we see on TV. Rap City and MTV Raps and BET, you know, videos and all that type of stuff. Because that's when it like first became popular, right? That's when it first like came out. And so I'm trying to look like all the celebrities and stuff that I'm seeing on TV, especially TLC. Like I love TLC. Like I just love the way they dressed and everything. And I was a tomboy anyway, so I used to love to dress in baggy clothes and stuff like that. So that was like my total jam. And T-Ball's haircut, so I had the short haircut and everything. And it was just like, that started my debt journey. Because like I said, I got my first credit card when I was 18. I maxed that bad boy out so many times, paid it off, maxed it off. They would increase the limit and I would, you know, take the money off the card, and realizing that a cash advance is one of those types of loans that you don't want to do because interest accrued the very first day, versus a purchase, you know, it accrues after 28 days or 25 days, whatever your credit card cycle is. But I didn't know all that, didn't care. I just wanted to get what I wanted to get, you know, because I had to look the part. And sadly, after high school, that followed me into my career decisions, because I was a great student in school. Like I got really good grades and everything. But I was just so burnt out from having a full-time job and going to school that I didn't even want to go to college. Like I was just done. And I had already got a taste of how it felt to make your own money without going to school. So I went straight into working in a factory. As soon as I graduated, I went straight into working in a factory. And I wound up, you know, making a whole lot more money than I was making at Burger King and at Golden Corral. And I hosted at a restaurant called Fats for a little while too. So I'm making, you know, big girl money, you know, working at this factory. It was called Sara Lee, and we made t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that. And so I'm making good money for a 18 turning 19-year-old. And benefits, you know, health insurance, you know, all types of benefits, as well as a really good pay for that time period. This is like 1997. This is 1997. And so what I'm doing with this extra money that I'm getting now, because I was used to, you know, my Burger King, my small little restaurant checks. Now I got this factory check. So now my spending has really increased, right? I'm still living at home at this point. So my spending really, really increased. And I wind up, you know, getting a more expensive car. The reason why I didn't have my original car, because something tragic happened to my brother. Now he's still living, but something tragic happened to my brother in my car. So I wound up having to get another car in 1998. So instead of me getting something that I could possibly pay for with my salary that I was making really good, I wound up getting a big boy car payment, because I wind up getting like a 1998 Pontiac Grand Am, fully loaded sunroof, you know, pecan interior, all that. I mean, really nice, really nice. I got this like $300 car payment now, a little over $300 car payment, car insurance. And I mean, and I'm going shopping, you know, I'm shopping all the time. So I have zero money saved. Stop paying on the credit card. So I had already like tore my credit up, and I wasn't even 20 years old, right? But I didn't care. I was just, you know, doing my thing out, you know, with my family and my friends, you know, getting in the club underage and, you know, that type of stuff. I just always was seeking validation from my friends, from the people that I was around, and I did not want to be the picked on girl. I wanted to be the popular girl. I wanted to be the girl that everybody felt like, oh, Starr got it going on. That's the girl that I wanted to be. You know, my self-worth was zero, because if I didn't have somebody telling me, giving me those praises of the stuff that was going on the outside, I was empty in the inside, right? And I struggled with depression all the way through my teenage years, right? And I grew up in the Baptist church, so my grandma was like, you know, I told my grandma that I was having, you know, thoughts of, you know, trigger warning of not wanting to be on this earth anymore when I was a teenager, before I even graduated high school, because I was just so down about myself. Like, I had acne, so it was just so much stuff. I was really, really skinny, so I got picked on about that. So I got picked on a lot about a lot of stuff. So when my clothes improved, it was like it was something else to pick on me about. So I've always had like this really low self-esteem about myself, you know, when I was really young. I was doing everything to fit in. If they were smoking, I was smoking. If they were drinking, I was drinking, you know, just so I can fit in. So I would not be picked on and just hiding behind a lot of hurt, right? So I chased that through, eventually I wound up getting pregnant with my son, because I'm like, okay, now I got somebody that's going to love me unconditionally. So I had my son at 22, a month before I turned 23. So I've had my baby, and I'm like, okay, now I got my baby. My baby's going to love me regardless of whatever. You know, I won't have to worry about trying to get that outside love. I got my love from my son now. And that was like my thinking. And I was, you know, still wasn't financially responsible, but now I got a child and I'm out on my own now, because I moved out of my grandma's house when I was like 19 going on 20. So now I got rent, I got light bill, I got phone bill, I got car payment, I got my son, I got, you know, I got all these big girl things going on, and I'm only 23, right? And I remember this was in 2004. And at this time, my son is like 3 years old. We had like this plant meeting, because I'm still working at this plant job. And we had like this plant meeting, and they were like, your department is going to close down. It's going overseas to Honduras, because at the time the president was President Bush, and he was like, okay, as long as they had the made in the USA tag on it, because that means at least one part of the process was done here in the United States, it could be finished somewhere else. So like my whole department moved to Honduras. And so I'm like, okay, I've been, you know, doing this job. And then at one point I had stopped working there because I had a medical issue. So I wound up like working for a cash advance place for a little while. And then I wound up going back to work there, because even working at the cash advance place, I wasn't making as much money as I was at that factory at Sara Lee. So I wound up going back. And I think my son was like 2 months old when I went back. After me and his dad had split, we was kind of like this on again, off again relationship for like 3-4 years of my son's life. I wound up finding out that my job was going to end. So at this point, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I've been pretty much doing this since I graduated high school in 97, and this is 2004, so this is 7 years later. And I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I got this baby now, and I'm out on my own. So wound up was on my job. You know, this is like the last few days of it. We like trying to tie up the loose ends. And my supervisor at the time, I never forget, her name was Danielle. And she asked me to come into her office to talk to her. And I'm like, oh God, what this is about, you know? I'm like, okay, the department's about to close down. So, and I was bad about calling in, because I wanted to go to the club and I wanted to go out. So I was bad about calling in. So I was always like on the verge of getting fired anyway. Was not responsible, because it was about hanging out. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So I was like, okay. let's see what this is about. So I go in the office, and she's asked me to sit down or whatever. And so I sit down, and she's like, Star, I need to talk to you about something very serious. She told me to shut her door and all that stuff. So I sit down, and I'm like, okay, what's up? And she said, well, of course, you know that your department is about to come to an end. And she said, but I want to tell you about an opportunity that I really think that you should take. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking that I know my department was closing, but I know the rest of the plant was still open. So I'm thinking maybe she was going to talk about transferring me to another position within the plant, right? But nah, she was like, because your job is going to Honduras, you got an opportunity to go back to school for free. And I'm looking at her like, okay. She's like, no, I'm serious. You can, go back to school for free. Whether you want to go to a 4-year college or a 2-year college, whatever you want to do, it'll be for free. And she said they will also pay you a weekly unemployment check because your job was going overseas. So it had all these different incentives. She's like, you'll get money for your son's child care, for free and all this stuff. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking like money. I'm like, I'm getting free money. Okay, yeah, sign me up. So it wasn't about me going to get an education at the time. I'm just thinking about, okay, I'm getting free money. I ain't got to work for it, right? I can chill as long as I'm in school. And so she was like, but no, seriously, Starr, you are young. You're still young. And I want you to use your smarts. You're very smart. And she said, it's a lot of people that's out here that's working with you. This is all they ever do because that's where their education stops. She said, but you have an opportunity to go back to school because you're still young. She said, I'm not saying that the other ones can't go back to school. She said, but you're still young. You've only been out of high school 7 years. So this is a great opportunity for you. And so I hesitated about it. The only good incentive of it for me was the money and all the other free, benefits I could get. But I didn't know if I was going to be serious about the school part. So I took her up on it, and I wound up, going to my local college here in my town where I live at. And I'm like, okay, I always was really good with numbers, really good with math and stuff like that. And I even took a couple of accounting electives when I was in high school. So I said, okay, I wound up signing up, to get a degree in business with a minor in accounting. So wound up doing that, end up graduating in 3 years. So I started it that same year in the fall of 2004, and I graduated May of 2007 with my with my business and my accounting minor. And right after that, I went right into banking. Got my first job working in a credit union. And, while I'm in school this whole time, I really got back into work mode. I really did. I got right back into work mode like how I was in school. I was always a good student. So I got right back into work mode. Wound up doing work study jobs, helping other people and stuff like that. So I was right in my element. Enjoyed every minute of it. Loved being in school, right? I felt like I was in my element. So, and then by being college, it was like a different atmosphere. I wasn't worrying about anybody picking on me. It was just like a different vibe, right? So I really and truly was not concerned about that at the time. And I even had started working on my credit while I was in college. I remember, trying to get collections and stuff like that, trying to settle with Discover Card and all that type of stuff, trying to work on my credit. I remember doing all that because we actually talked about that in one of my classes. So that's how I learned how to do that, how to dispute, how to work with collections and stuff like that. And so I actually had started working on my credit. And by the time I started working at the credit union, my credit was a whole lot better because I had started working on it while I was in college. But I didn't get any more credit cards. I didn't get any loans. I didn't get anything else. Whatever I had, I just start working on that. And so anyway, wound up going and working into this credit union. So I'm working with a whole bunch of, professional ladies, and all my jobs prior to that were factory jobs or restaurant jobs, So I've never worked in this, really true professional setting. Because even when I worked at the cash advance company for that little time that I did work there, when I had a little medical issue and I had to leave the plant, it still wasn't like, we had to wear like dress casual clothes, but it still wasn't like the professional atmosphere as working in a financial institution, right? And so here I go again, judging myself and thinking other people are judging me because I got this raggedy 1990 Thunderbird that was a clunker. It was paid for though. I paid $500 cash for this clunker, and I'm driving this thing to work, and these ladies got Yukons and, brand new Honda Accords and, all these nice cars, and here I am pulling up with this clunker to work, and I'm looking at their nice suits and stuff, and, I probably got mine a nice little shirt, maybe out of Walmart or somewhere like that, Cato's or something, I'm not dressing the part looking at these ladies, right? So there I go again, judging myself. So I wind up, like, I remember one day it rained really bad, and my windows in my Thunderbird was so horrible that they would fall into the door, and I would have to get my boyfriend at the time to take the door panel off and get my window back up. So that particular day it was raining. I'm about to go on my lunch break, and the window falls in the door, and it's pouring down rain, and I can't get the window down, so I'm getting soaked, and I'm on my lunch break, and I was just like so done. I was so done, and I'm like, okay, I already look like a bum. I'm the only black girl, you know what I'm saying, working at this bank, and I just had all these, bad like feelings and stuff, not, just not on my best. Self-esteem in the pot, So anyway, I wound up calling my boyfriend. I'm like, look, daggone car is acting up. I'm like tired of that car. I'm ready to shoot it. So he was like, okay, let me just pick you up and then we just go to lunch. I'll just take you to lunch. I'm off today. So we wound up going to lunch. And right beside where we just went to Sonic. It wasn't, nowhere special. We just went to Sonic, got like Sonic burger and fry. And right beside there is a Ford and Toyota dealership. And I was like, by this time the rain had slacked up enough that, I was like, let's go over there. And he was like, what, you thinking about getting another car? I'm like, well, I'm tired of that one, And so anyway, fast forward, wind up going over there, looked at a Jeep that I really like, test drove it. They was like, okay, Starr, we know you work at the credit union. Take it back with you, keep it overnight, and if you like it, we'll talk about, financing or whatever. So I drove the Jeep back to the credit union, and by this time, the rain done completely cleared up, right? And everybody's like, Starr, you thinking about getting a new car, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know. And so these ladies, they looking at me in this car. So one of the loan officers come out, and they was like, Starr, do you really like that car? And I was like, yeah, it drives really good. It's a 2004. And this is 2008 at this time. This is March of 2008. And I'm like, yeah, I really like it, compared to my 1990, my clunker out there. And so anyway, fast forward, they're like, if you want to get it, let's run the numbers. So they actually contacted the dealership, ran the numbers, and before I left work that day, they cut the check, and this 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee is mine, right? And now it was $400. It was a $400 payment that they broke down every 2 weeks. So this is coming out of my check every 2 weeks. Well, actually, it wasn't quite $400. It was $374, but it was halved up. So every 2 weeks when I got paid, this automatically came out of my check as a deduction to the credit union that I was working at. And so my son was excited because, he was a car rider at school. So him pulling up in this really nice Jeep and all that stuff, he's really liking it. His friends like, oh, your mom's got a new car, because I got that new tag on the back and all that stuff. I felt like I was a part of this professional group of women now. And so along with that, I wound up getting a credit card with the credit union. They trying to really help me, look the part. So I went in and went on a shopping spree, got me some better looking pantsuits and all kind of stuff. I'm doing like the mail order catalogs like Chadwick's and all that type of stuff. Online catalogs, because, at that time, Amazon wasn't a thing, right? It wasn't a thing. And so I'm, just back in Belts, back in JCPenney, back in all these different department stores, right, that's here in my town. And running up debt again, running up debt. Working in banking and seeing the money coming in and working with these professional people, I was just back like how I was when I was in high school. So eventually I started getting finance company loans outside of the credit union. So instead of me, going to them for a loan, I started getting money outside of the credit union, getting debt outside of the credit union, because I didn't want them to know that I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. I really couldn't afford that Jeep at the time, because I started racking up debt. Like I was going to getting finance company loans of $500, $600 at this company, $1,000 at this company. So I got all these payments coming out along with my rent, along with everything else I had going on. So I got every dime I got was going to somewhere. Never was able to save. Wasn't even thinking about, trying to save any money from my son, because by this time my son is like 5 years old, 6 years old. He's in the first grade and stuff. And his whole thing is he see me writing checks, so he thinks that that's all you gotta do is write a check. He don't realize you gotta have money in there, right? And so I was doing something that was really against the law of banking. And I was doing something that they call kiting. And when you're kiting, it's like I had a bank account with another bank, and I had my account with the credit union I worked at. And so I was floating checks because I didn't have the money. So I'm writing a check out for this account that I didn't have the money in to put in this account. And then I would take that same check and write it and put it in this account. Don't ever do that. Because first of all, it's against the law to do it. And then the second, it's going to wind up catching up with you because you really and truly don't have the money. And really and truly, if I had ever got caught doing it, I could have really got fired, because it's a no-no, right? So I was just doing too much, really. Just really doing too much. And eventually, I wound up leaving that credit union and went to work for another credit union. And I got all this debt at this point. I mean, I got finance companies, I got other credit cards, I got my Jeep payment and that I was like behind on, like 2 months behind on, and I'm scared that I'm going to lose my car, and I got all this going on. So I wound up going back to school for another degree, but not because I wanted to get another degree. It's because I was hearing that they was letting you get student loan money, and I needed some cash, to try to get out of my debt that I was in, because I was drowning at this point. And I know some of my friends that had went back to school. Now, mind you, my first degree, I didn't pay anything for it. I was getting money back, actually. But this time, like, grant money and scholarship money and stuff. But this time, I went into student loan debt, and I didn't have to, because it was like a tech degree. And so I could have just, with it just being me and my son, and my income wasn't like that, I could have just, got another Pell Grant and pay for everything. But no, I got the student loans. I was getting like $5,000 every semester, and I was dragging that bad boy out. So like a 2-year degree was running up on 36 months, and it was wild, So anyway, wind up like $40,000 in student loan debt, because every semester I was getting like $5,000 back in a refund check, and I'm living off this money. And I was paying my rent up. I was doing the right thing about it, because I was being foolish with my actual income, right? So I end up racking up the student loan debt and credit card debt and all that type of stuff. So eventually I'm chasing my tail. I go into my boss office, and I'm like, this is 2013. I go into my boss office, and I'm like, okay. By this time I had paid my Jeep off and refinanced it and got some more money, right? So I'm on like my second car payment for my Jeep, because I paid it off, refinanced it to get like $4,000 or $5,000, and was back in another car payment. So she was like, okay, let me, I was telling her about how I was drowning in my debt. My debt was just crazy. So what we did like a consolidation loan. Outside of my car, we did a consolidation loan. So she cut checks for me to pay off all my credit cards. I had Walmart card, Capital One, JC Penney, Old Navy. I had a ton of credit cards. Just a whole bunch of little credit cards that probably the highest limit on all of them was probably $2,000. So I just had a ton of little credit cards that was maxed out, right? So she wound up doing a consolidation loan. And once she consolidated everything that I had going on, I owed them like $10,000. And my payment was like, I think it was like $220 or $230 or somewhere around in there. And so I got my car payment because I had refinanced my car, and now I got this personal loan, but I don't have the credit cards. So I brought all the credit cards I had and I put them in the shredder, and I shredded them up, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with it. I'm not doing it anymore. And because all those credit cards got paid off, my credit score went way up. So now I'm getting all these credit card offers again, PayPal, MasterCard. I'm getting all these credit card offers again that I wasn't getting before. And what your girl do? She got in credit card debt again. Yep, I got in credit card debt again. Because what she do? She wound up getting the cards that she had shredded that was already in a consolidation loan, wound up getting those cards back out, and ended up maxing those cards out along with the new cards that I had just got. So I got, oh my God, guys, y'all, every dime. Every single stinking dime that came in my house was going to pay a debt. I had new electronics, buying all kind of stuff, bought TVs, I mean, you name it, I was buying it. And every time I was getting my income tax every year, you know, from claiming my son and everything, I would pay some of those debts off, but then I'll be right back into debt again because I'm shopping. I mean, I'm just doing some major shopping, you know. And I didn't have too much to show for it, really, because I had wound up gaining weight. So a lot of the clothes that I had bought, like the suits and night suits and stuff that I wore, I couldn't even wear them anymore because I had gained like 30, 40 pounds. So I had to wind up buying all new stuff, you know. So it was just like this continuous debt cycle that I was on, continuous debt cycle. And I was on that debt cycle until 2017. Yep, until 2017. I was turning 39. I was 38, turning 39. I remember at this time I had left the credit union because I felt like I had, you know, a little burnout, and I had got a degree in medical systems, you know, medical office systems from my technical college. So I was like, let me do something with that because I was kind of burned out from working at the bank a little bit. So I was like, let's do something with that. So I wound up getting a job being like a patient admin, you know, like admitting people into the hospital, but I was working in the ER, so I was admitting people that was coming into the ER. So just getting them to sign they, you know, HIPAA forms and consent forms and all that stuff, collecting their insurance, you know, payments and stuff like that, and just getting them a bracelet whenever they come into the hospital, you know, stuff like that, just administrative work. And so I did that for all of like 9 or 10 months. And I remember me and my current husband now, because I've been married before. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother debt story. So this is my second husband. So by this time, I'm married to my second husband because I got my first divorce was in 2015. So now I'm married to my second husband. And so he called me up because he had like a tire break situation or something. And he worked like 45 minutes away from where we lived. So he's in a whole nother town at a factory that he was working at, and he didn't have the money, and we had just paid our rent, and we rent from somebody that's private, like a private owner or whatever. So, and I had been renting from him since 2006, and he was like, you think that you could get that money back because I got to get my tire fixed because I got to go to work, you know. And that's how broke we were, guys. That's how broke. I was still in debt to my eyeballs, you know. When we got married, I took out a finance loan just so we can have money on our honeymoon or whatever. It was really wild, right? And just so we can really have money to eat, right? Because I had already paid for the room for the whole week with my income tax check. And so fast forward, had to call my landlord to get the money back so my husband get his brakes fixed. And so we told my landlord, you know, we'll pay you on the next paycheck. And it was at that moment, guys, it was really at that moment that I had this major epiphany. Like I had this major just brain, just like like the veil was lifted, like they say the scales and everything was lifted out of my eyes. Like I could finally see what I had been doing to my life for the past 20 something years since I was a teenager, since I first started working at 16. The veil finally just came back. It's like the Wizard of Oz where you saw the man behind the curtain. It was like, okay, y'all, you were broke. And if at this rate, you're going to always be broke. You're going to always be in debt. You're never going to have anything, Starr. You keep changing jobs, so your 401k is all over the place. You really don't have any money to retire. Like, nothing. And you already know that by the time it's your retirement age, Social Security is probably going to be gone. And so what are you going to do? I'm 38 years old at this point, going on 39. And I just asked God, I'm like, God, I need help. I need help because I don't want to live like this. And I don't want my son to live like this. I don't want my son to grow up thinking that this is the way to live. So I had to get busy. That's when I decided, well, actually God had placed it on my heart because I'm a big reader. I always love to read and stuff like that and love to write. And so I was like, okay, what do I need to do? And I was actually scrolling on my Kindle and stuff, and this book right here popped up by Dave Ramsey called The Complete Guide to Money. And I don't know if you can see my purchase date, but I bought this book in July of 2017. Hope y'all guys can see that. And that book right there is what changed my life. And I made this video, not this particular way, but I talked about that book in one of my old videos back when I first started this channel in 2022. That book changed my life, guys, because it was those baby steps that actually helped me get out of credit card debt, personal finance debt, all that stuff. If it wasn't for that book, I would still be doing the exact same thing that I have been doing since I was 16 years old. Trying to seek outside validation, approval, trying to look the part, and drowning in debt, right? Because I could not stop myself. I could see me not having the money to pay this bill, but that would not stop me from spending more money. And I would see myself doing that. And I was like, you don't have the money to pay for what you got, so why do you got this card out? Why are you at this department store? You don't have the money. But because I had so much debt at this time, I was like, it doesn't matter. You get to the point where, okay, I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life. So you just accept it. And then you be like, okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just so glad that God had led me to that book, because if it didn't, I would have never got out of credit card debt. I would have never built up my emergency fund. I would have never been able to start my business, because at this point, my credit had went back down because my credit card utilization was up because all my cards was maxed out. I was in over $20,000 worth of credit card debt at that point because I had all these little cards, right? And all those little cards added up, along with my car payment that wasn't paid off from the second refinance and the consolidation loan and all that stuff, right? I had my student loans in deferment, and once they were out of deferment, once I graduated with the tech degree, I wound up having to start paying those, but I did the income driven repayment plan on that, so it wouldn't be like $20 a month. So that was a blessing because I couldn't afford it if it was more than that, right? But the interest on all this stuff. And I wound up just doing the snowball debt method, and that's how I got out of that debt. It took me from 2017 to about 2019. I got really aggressive, guys. And I started with that Old Navy card that I had forever. It only had a $200 limit, but that thing was maxed out because I was going to Old Navy getting whatever I can get, whenever I can get it. JCPenney too. I had pants that I still had the tags on because, like I said, I had gained weight. So I couldn't even wear them. I wound up giving them away to one of my nieces because I couldn't even wear them, right? And it was just a wild time, but I'm so grateful that I was able to get out of it. But people don't talk about this, guys. You don't hear about it. You hear about drug addiction, you hear about alcohol addiction, even gambling addictions, and even food addiction. But you don't really hear people talk about debt addiction and how it's ruining our lives, how it's ruining our future. And one thing I did do right, like with my son, when my son started getting picked on at school because I wasn't no label, like buying him name brand clothes either. I just bought him clothes. I know my son. My son was like really into tech. You know, he really loved the computers and stuff like that, gaming and all that stuff when he was really young. He was really into tech stuff. And so that's where I put a lot of the money at. He really didn't care about that, you know, clothes and all that, he didn't care about none of that. But then, of course, when you go into the public school, some kids are going to pick. And of course, he had a couple of moments where he felt like he was getting picked on. But I told him, like, baby, don't worry about that. You know, I know it can be hard, but don't worry about that, because just stay focused on getting your education, and everything that I wish I had somebody to tell me, that's what I was telling him. And I said, and eventually you won't even be in school with those kids anymore, because this is just elementary. You about to go to a whole nother school. And then eventually my son didn't even stay in school here, wound up going to the governor's school for science and mathematics with a whole bunch of other really smart kids, and they don't care about none of that. You know what I'm saying? So I was just really blessed with him that he saw what his mom was doing, but he never fell into that trap. And he's 22 years old now. He's about to go into his doctorate program. After he graduated his master's, right now he just got accepted into his doctorate program. And he's going to be teaching psychology next year at the University of South Carolina. So I'm just so proud of him, because he did the total opposite of what his mom did. And I didn't even let him work when he was a teenager. I'm like, look, I'll work 10 jobs so that you will continue to go to school. Because once I got a taste of money and started spending on my own clothes and everything, that's why I didn't go back to school immediately, because I had already got a taste of money. And I didn't want him to be chasing pennies, thinking that you're making dollars. You know what I'm saying? That's just my story, guys. I know it was a long one. I'm gonna have to pick back up, because I still got some more stuff I want to talk about on this topic of debt addiction. So it's going to be a part 2. I hope you guys stay tuned for that. Please leave me a comment and let me know what y'all think about my story. It was really hard for me to tell y'all guys and just be this transparent about my debt journey, because I had a debt journey, like for real. And even now that I have overcome that, it's still a struggle, because now I got big boy credit cards. I got $28,000 limit on one card, and I got American Express Gold card. I got big boy limits now. Back then I had $5,000 and $2,000 limit. You know, I had those little small cards, but now like all my limits on my credit cards are no less than like $7,000, no less. You know what I'm saying? Than $7,000 now, because now my credit is great, you know, so I can get any card I want, or any, you know, I can go out and get any credit I want. So I have to really be careful. It's kind of like, you know, I don't put myself in temptation to spend anymore like that. You know, I don't go on Amazon on my app, even though the app's on my phone. I don't go on there unless I really need something, right? I don't just be scrolling, and I don't be on like TikTok and seeing, you know, the little gadgets or whatever that people doing, you know, TikTok made me buy it and all that type of stuff. It's like I really and truly have to be disciplined, because I know I like stuff. I like material stuff. So I have to be really, really careful so that I don't ever fall back into that spend trap again, you know, of just accumulating stuff. Because that's what I was doing. A lot of that stuff that I was in that debt for years and years and years, I didn't even have it that long, guys. So it's a serious thing. And like I said, a lot of people don't talk about it. A lot of people don't like to admit it. So guys, leave me a comment. Let me know. Again, I said I'm going to have to come back and do a part 2 to really talk about some of the signs of debt addiction in part 2. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see y'all guys in the next video.